Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for the launch of Welcome to the Blue Heaven, Don't Bet Against the Goalkeeper, the new memoir from Sporting Kansas City's Jimmy Nielsen. We appreciate all the folks that come through here and film these PSAs for us on a topic that as librarians is obviously very important to us. That being, getting the message out about the importance of reading, the importance of children reading, and perhaps more important, how crucial it is for adults to read so that we're setting a good example for the children who are watching what we do every day. That's of particular interest because Frank White's book was published by Ascend Books, the same folks who have brought us Jimmy Nielsen here tonight. And I want to thank them for their commitment to literacy and to libraries, and I'm happy to announce that Jimmy Nielsen just filmed a similar PSA for us, and you'll be able to see it soon on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/KCLibrary. A couple of quick housekeeping notes, and then we'll get to people who are far more interesting than I am. First of all, we had a drawing, I'm sure many of you saw outside, for a couple of signed soccer balls, and the winners will be able to find me afterwards, and I'll get you set up. And the winners are Zane Brown and Stephanie Kramer. So you folks can find me after the event and I'll get you your balls. Congratulations. If you didn't win, there are a couple of exciting opportunities remaining. We'll be generating 2 random numbers when the book signing starts, and as those people come through the line, we have 1 more signed ball that we are going to give away, and then a second person will win 4 tickets with parking to a future Sporting Kansas City game. So good luck on that. Speaking of the book signing, the books are available outside, as many of you saw. When the book signing begins, we'll line people up on this far side. The signing will take place on the stage. So please line up on this end of the room. Try not to come up the stairs if you don't have to, and we'll get that done. Jimmy has said that he's happy to sign 1 additional item if anybody comes through with a book. He's also willing to accommodate as many people as possible who don't buy a book, but we do ask that if you don't have a book, that you please let people with a book go through the line first so we can be sure that we accommodate all of them, and then we'll get to as many additional people as we can. I'd also like to say that Metro Sports is here this evening. You can see them there in the back. They're filming the event. We appreciate them being here. And that will air at 7 p.m. on July 7th on Metro Sports, and I'm sure on additional dates after that. So if you can't make that viewing, check your listings, and I'm sure you can catch it again. We have 3 people that are going to say a few words before we get started this evening. The first one is going to be Rob Thompson, Executive VP for Communications for Sporting Kansas City. Second up is going to be Peter Vermes, the manager for Sporting Kansas City. And finally, introducing Jimmy and Paolo tonight is going to be Bob Snodgrass from Ascend Publishing. So Rob, if you would, please do your magic.
Magic? Thanks so much. Well, no clapping. I had probably the easiest job in this whole process. I was just a very loose conduit between Jimmy Nielsen, who, when he first came to Kansas City, embraced everyone in our organization and our team and the city, to Paolo Bandini, the ghostwriter, co-author, and Ascend Books. So I was just the easy puppet master with the 3 of these great entities, and so please no applause. But when I met Jimmy the first time, and I always say this, besides my family, I don't think anyone's hugged me more than Jimmy. When he came to Kansas City, he just had the zest for life and really submerged himself with our team and our organization, and he always said, whatever I can do to help, I will do. And it's not a lip service. And when I introduce Peter in a second, you can see how these 2 have meshed without, if you guys have read the book yet, not knowing each other except 1 brief phone call. The 2 things, they both love their families, very big family-oriented people, and they're very competitive, which might seem like an odd mix, but it's not. It works perfectly for both. Both want to win more than anything, and to succeed, and not only win, but they want to submerge themselves in a community to build great things. And when Jimmy came to Kansas City, we were on a downward arc, about to ascend to great heights, but not there, certainly not yet. We're at the very beginning, very bottom rung. And so he got here, and at his stage in his career, it had been easy for him to say, listen, this is, I've accomplished all these great feats elsewhere, and I don't really want to start over. But he did the exact opposite. He took this by the horns and by the reins, and with Peter Vermes, have helped build us to where we are. I started with this organization in 1997, so I've seen a lot through soccer in Kansas City and this organization. And to have a player and personality like Jimmy has been unbelievable for me, being the head of communications for Sporting Kansas City. Just what he's done to tie the community together, and we use community a lot. We have 5 owners, all from Kansas City, so we're very local based. We use that a lot, and he is a Kansas Citian. Jimmy certainly is, and I think everyone feels that way. Whether it's you've heard the stories where he's driving down on Ward Parkway, stops his car, sees kids playing on the side of Ward Parkway, and gets out and starts kicking the soccer ball with them. That's authentic. That's Jimmy Nielsen. Whether it's using his personality and his humor. One time we were in Columbus a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I believe, and a fan from Columbus threw a hot dog on the field and hit Jimmy in the middle of the game. He picks up the hot dog, takes a bite, and waves to the guy, and now he's a huge fan favorite in Columbus. So these are just little Jimmy anecdotes that you don't really script out. That's just his personality, and again, for us, it's such a great godsend to what we've done and what we've accomplished. I mean, he's certainly been at the forefront of what we want to do and what we strive to do and who we try to reach and how we try to connect, which is a word we often use. But I will introduce Peter Vermes, our manager, and Peter, as I said, just like Jimmy, the will to build things and his ideals and his vision for what we were when Jimmy first got here to what we are now to where we still want to go. And it all is part of a plan that Peter really fulfills. And Jimmy is a huge cog into that. And, I'm always subscribed to the belief that you make your own luck. And maybe it was lucky that Jimmy and Peter found each other to come to Kansas City, but as I fully believe, it was destined to happen. So I'd like to introduce our manager, Peter Vermes, who I've known for 14 years as a player, and then a general manager, and now our head coach and technical director. So please give a round of applause for Peter Vermes.
When I took over, I wasn't too sure how things were going to be, because at the time I was coming in as an interim coach. There were 10 games left in the season. It was really about trying to assess where we were as a club and then try to build for the future. As we started to move forward, I was in a little bit of and look, it's public knowledge. We were in a contract negotiation with a goalkeeper that was here before, and it wasn't going very well. And as time was going through in preseason, at the time we were missing 2 of our goalkeepers. And as we do with every player, we search high and low all around the world to try to find players for our team always, including obviously the United States. And Jimmy came onto our radar through one of our contacts, and I remember seeing a video of him, playing in a game. And I said, look, this is getting to be a little bit of a difficult situation with our current situation of negotiating with the goalkeepers that we're looking to negotiate with. And then all of a sudden, we were looking through YouTube, and we saw this video clip. And in this video clip, Jimmy's playing with his team in training, and it's a small-sided game. And you see an action happen at his goal, and he has a little bit of a go at one of the guys on his team. And as the guy's running away, he says something to Jimmy, and Jimmy goes flying out the goal at this guy. And he didn't tell him that he's doing a great job. It was a little more than that. And they got into it a little bit of a fist fight. And right then and there, from a competitive perspective, I knew this was a guy that I needed to talk to. So talked to the agent, said, listen, the only way that this deal could even happen is I need to talk to the player on the phone first. And I do this with every player that we bring into our team, whether it's a guy from the United States or a guy from a foreign country. I knew within the first 2 minutes of the conversation that this was our guy. And why I knew that it is in coaching, one of the most important things you have to learn as a coach is you have to go with your gut. You have to go with what you feel a lot of the times. Absolutely, there's calculated moves that you do, but there are certain aspects that happen in our game that you have to go with what you feel. And that conversation was very enlightening to me. Jimmy had stated to me how he wanted to have a fresh start somewhere new, and that he had the goal of becoming a champion here in Kansas City. That was the first part. Obviously, we took a big risk because majority of the time when we're trying to find a player, we always look to go see that player live once we've gotten through the evaluation perspective. We didn't see him live. So he travels in, meets us in Tucson. We get a chance to meet him. And I'm going to touch on something that Rob Thompson, who just was out here, and he said, and that was, I never realized how much he would mean to the team off the field. That's in the locker room, which is an incredibly important part of any team. And then also being an ambassador to our club and the sport. Soccer is growing, I think all of you realize, immensely. And so is our team in this city. And it was important for us to make sure that we had people that were going to be ambassadors to our game, to our sport, to our team, to everything that we were trying to do. I will tell you that I've never been around a better guy who is an ambassador to the game and to this club. He is tremendous in the community. He is tremendous around the game. And it's genuine. And that's the real thing. There are a lot of players that do it for self-serving needs. That doesn't come with Jimmy. It's genuine. And I think that is the part that is, to me, the most incredible aspect that he brings to our club. He's obviously a fantastic goalkeeper. He's done tremendously well for our team. He's helped us become the team that we are. And even in those times when you look at your team and you say to yourself, okay, how are we going to get out of maybe a rut, or how can we change things? He is always the first guy through the door, smile on his face. Don't worry, we're going to get through this. We'll make it happen. And when you're around people like that, you realize that there's opportunities that are going to always present themselves, but you always are going to take advantage of them because of players like him. The final aspect, and before I leave you, sporting has come a long way. It's come a long way in the community. It's also come a long way in the sporting environment here in Kansas City. Players like Jimmy aren't guys that just are players that help us get there, but they're the kind of people that stay around in an organization for the long term. My hope is that Jimmy will finish his career here and then one day join the organization on the technical side, because he has experiences that go a long way to helping players that will continue to come within our team. But more importantly, he's made a connection to this community and realizes how important it is to make sure that his connection is there, but also that he can continue to bring people into the organization. So as I move forward and as I look to this team, I look to guys like him. I never would have thought that a guy like him would have been the captain of our team. I've always been very protective of that environment, because I think a lot of times it should have been with an American player, but there was no way that I could overlook the contributions that a guy like him has made to this club. He's fit in so well to this team and this community that it's fitting that he's written a book about his life, because he's overcome quite a lot of things. He's not afraid to talk about them. We all make mistakes. And I'm very proud to say that I coach him, and I also consider him to be a friend. Not many coaches say that about their players, but he's somebody I respect immensely. And I hope that you read the book. You find that it's very enlightening. I'm sure you'll find some very funny aspects in the book as well. And you come out to see us play many times over the years to come, because I think you'll continue to see a good product on the field. So thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Snodgrass. I'm from Ascend Books, the publisher, and on behalf of our publications team, welcome tonight to a very special evening. One of the things you're going to discover here very shortly is just how fortunate we are as a community to welcome these two gentlemen amongst us now. They're just treasures. Steve Woolfolk from the library mentioned we had another icon here back in October in Frank White, and I can see Jimmy Nielsen following in those footsteps and becoming one of Kansas City's own. Let me just tell you who's coming out here, though. Paolo Bandini is a freelance sports writer and broadcaster. He specializes in soccer and football, which in England is football and football. He spent 6 years on the full-time staff of The Guardian, which is one of Britain's major newspapers. He's decided to branch out on his own a little bit. He's worked for ESPN, The Score, BBC Radio, TalkSport, and has written a number of pieces. Paolo also covered the 2012 NFL season and covered the St. Louis Rams for the NFLUK.com. And he has now relocated with his wife, Laura, who is pursuing her PhD down at the University of Missouri in Columbia. And he is now a permanent member of our community. Jimmy Nielsen, as you know, is the captain of the Kansas City Sporting. He is the 2012 Goalkeeper of the Year. Jimmy grew up in Denmark, where he spent 13 years playing for his hometown team, starting a club record 398 consecutive games and helping his club to win its second ever national championship in Denmark. During his time there, he was named twice as the Danish Goalkeeper of the Year. Jimmy joined what were the Kansas City Wizards in 2010. And since then, he has been named the MLS All-Star to the All-Star team twice and is the 2012 Goalkeeper of the Year. He lives in Kansas City, just out here at Brookside, with his wife and 2 lovely daughters. So it is my great pleasure to introduce to you, and if you would, welcome to the stage, Paolo Bandini, an all-star goalkeeper and author and captain of your Kansas City Sporting, Jimmy Nielsen.
Good. I start off by saying thank you to Bob and Peter and Robo as well, all 3 of them for great introductions. I think they've explained a little bit about how this book came to be. I still wanted to just tell the story a little bit.
Time out.
Okay.
I want to finish this story Rob Thompson started with the hot dog in Columbus. What most people don't know, when you're a soccer player, you have to eat 6 hours before the game. So when you play the game, you are so hungry. And when you get thrown a hot dog at you, you don't let that go. Sure.
Yeah. I can't follow that.
You know how I can eat.
I know how Jimmy can eat. Actually, I was going to get this in a second, but a lot of our interviews took place in the Plaza. We met and did a lot of our conversations in a restaurant in the Plaza. And one of the things I was going to warn you all was that if you ever happen to have lunch with Jimmy Nielsen, you need to pay close attention to what he's getting on his side. Because if he's getting a salad, you might want to get yourself an extra order of fries there, because Jimmy Nielsen is definitely the guy who comes and gets those extra fries when he gets a chance. So, no, I just wanted to fill in that story about how the book came to happen from my point of view, which is that Rob, who played his role down there but really was central to this happening, he grabbed me at halftime during the USA-Guatemala game, which I was covering for The Guardian in England, and he just said to me, look, our goalkeeper, our captain Jimmy, would like to write this book. Would you be interested in working on with it? And for me, as a guy who'd only come to America a couple of months earlier, I hadn't been here very long, it was an interesting opportunity, an exciting opportunity, but it was definitely something that came a little bit out of the blue. So I'm like, okay, this sounds great, and I'll go and meet Jimmy and see how we get along. And the first meeting I had with Jimmy was at practice for Sporting Kansas City, and he came out after practice and he shook my hand and he's like, great, meet me in 2 minutes round the back of that shelter over there. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this must be a really top secret book. We're not letting anyone know about this project. And what I found out very quickly was actually the reason Jimmy wanted to go around the back of the shelter is that Jimmy had just finished practice and he needed to have a cigarette very quickly, which we couldn't do in front of everybody. Now, I want to say straight away that Jimmy has kicked that habit, which is awesome. So I think a round of applause for Jimmy. But for me, actually, in a funny way, that was a great way to get off, because when you're doing a book like this, what you want to get is the real stuff. You want to get the stuff that maybe Jimmy doesn't broadcast to everyone. You want to hear some secrets and stories that he hasn't shared a lot. And actually, what I realized very quickly with Jimmy is that Jimmy isn't shy about sharing things with me. He's willing to talk to me about all these things. And the first time I meet him, he's already showing me something that I guess is a little bit of a secret, even if it turned out to be a pretty public secret I found out afterwards. But Jimmy was fantastic with me. And speaking as someone who, as I say, only just arrived in the country, actually it was amazing to be able to share the experience with someone who'd done the same thing a couple of years earlier than me. And I think maybe we bonded a little bit over that as well, which was a great thing. So I want to start off by asking you though, Jimmy, and that's my side of how it started, but why did you want to do this book at this time?
Well, this is my second book. I wrote one in Denmark, and if I haven't made that one, I would probably not have made the second one. Because when I moved over here and people got to know me a little bit better, starting asking questions about that book. And one, on Danish you'll say 1000 på rød, they want that translated. And that means 1,000 unread. And why 1,000 unread? And then I start telling the stories that I used to have a gambling problem and blah, 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 blah. Keep going. And I thought I was done with books, you know. But more and more people came to me and asked about that book, if I could have that translated. And I got more and more motivated. Not just to translate the book, but really update, because I have not expected that we would have such a great time here in Kansas City. I'll say, when I had the first phone call from Peter Vermes, I had no clue Kansas City existed. Sorry, I didn't. So I was still on the phone with Peter Vermes, and I'm sorry, but I don't know where Kansas City is in the country. And he told me, do you know where New York is? I said, I do. Put your right finger there, and then go to the middle. And I went to the middle, and he said, go down, go down, go down, go down. Boop, Kansas City, all right. Pretty cool, pretty cool. No, but as I said, I got motivated to make this second one. You know, the soccer is growing and growing here in the city too, and I thought I would share the story with the Kansas City people and the Sporting KC fans too.
And it's an interesting thing for me, because I've spent all this time with you, but of course I've never been able to read that book because I don't speak Danish. So is this a very different book, do you think, to the one that you made before?
I think it's a lot better, thanks to you. Thanks to you. No.
It's the right answer.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important for me that you and I connected very well. And I was not worried. But I don't know if you remember, I called you and said, I'm not happy with how this is going. I don't know if it's because of my language, but when you sent me the first email of what you've been writing down, I was not worried for 1 second.
It's very kind of you,
I think you did an absolutely fantastic job, and you were able to put it down with my words too. So,
thank you very much, Jimmy. That's very kind. But were there different stories? Is it the same thing? Do you think?
Some of the gambling stories, of course, are the same stories. But there's a lot more from Kansas City here. Not so much about my time in Denmark. It's more about the time here in Kansas City. When we first arrived to Kansas City, I was staying at the hotel at Homestead. My family came over, and my first big impression about Kansas City actually happened at Sunfresh in Westport, here in Kansas City. We were still living at the hotel, and we had a kitchen in the hotel, so we went to get some grocery shopping. And when we left the store, the bottom of the bag fell, and all our grocery store on the parking lot. And we're down picking up, and I'm looking up. I had 5 or 6 people helping me picking that up, me and my wife. We looked at each other when we came in the car. That would never have happened in Denmark. Never. So this could be pretty good here. And I will say, when I first joined the team, I joined the team in Arizona. When I landed here in Kansas City and we flew over, I was like, oh my God, what is this? I don't see anything. I had a picture of America with skylines everywhere, but I couldn't see anything. So I was like, all right, I only signed 9 months. How long could that be? And when we took the ride from the airport to the hotel, I was like, only 9 months, then I'm back in Denmark. But I've been here for 3.5 years. I've only been back in Denmark for 4 days in 3.5 years. So I think that's a good signal that I love this place here.
I think that's unbelievable. You told me that the other day.
Yeah.
And that's partly a byproduct of the soccer season here. It's a very long season, and it doesn't necessarily allow you that time to get back to Denmark. And when it is, it's a very cold time of year when you get your break. But it's still, I think, like you say, I mean, it's pretty clear how much you love being here. And actually, you say that in the book. You talked about you might have had that first impression when you landed, but you were on the phone to Jenny and the kids within a matter of days, telling them they needed to get their ticket moved forward.
Exactly. You know, I was so impressed by the team, because when I moved here, everybody told me this is not a good league to move to. This is a league for old people and retirement. And I said, all right, well, I'm 32, I'm quite old too, so why not? But when I moved here and I saw the team and I joined the team, you know, those people had no clue what they were talking about. This league here is absolutely, if not better, on the same level as what I came from.
But having said that, when you first got here, what was your first impression of arriving to find a soccer team playing in a baseball park?
Yeah, that was kind of awkward. It was a little awkward situation, because when we came there, I thought it was our training facilities. I didn't know it was our stadium. So I was like, you can't play soccer at a baseball stadium. Yes, you can. I said, no, you can't. And well, we could. And lucky for me, we only played there for 1 year and moved to this fantastic stadium. Best stadium I've ever been at, ever. And I've been in almost every soccer country in the world. This is the best stadium in the world.
I mean, that's something which I would like to agree with as well. I've covered teams in Europe, big, successful European football clubs. They don't have a facility, most of them, anything like what you guys have in Kansas City. I think you need to be really proud and excited to have such an amazing stadium. And how does that make you feel as a player to get to go there every week?
Unbelievable. You know, when you walk on the field, you're standing in the tunnel and ready to get out, you can hear the crowd is getting pumped. Like, you're so excited. You want to do so well for those fantastic fans. They're creating an unbelievable atmosphere. You told me first time you went there, you were shocked by the atmosphere. And it is unbelievable. It's such a happy atmosphere. Very, very good environment. Personally, you too, we're both football fans. And it's a completely different atmosphere. At Arrowhead, it's very aggressive and a little angry atmosphere. And like, everybody's yelling at Matt Castle until... which is not always fair. No. You know, he got blamed for a little too much, I think. No, I mean, I felt bad for him.
Yeah, he got cheered for being knocked out, and that's not good for anybody. But it's a very happy atmosphere at Sporting Kansas City, and you're talking about at Arrowhead and how things are with the football over here. But what about at your club back in Denmark? Well, your two clubs back in Denmark, Aalborg and Vejle. How would that compare?
It's different. You know, we don't have any competitive sports to soccer. So soccer is almost the religion. You know, when you go to bed in the night, you pray for the team is winning. You don't pray to God. You're not. You know, they're taking it dead serious, and we have a lot of problems with hooligans too. And it's a shame. They could learn a lot from the fans here in America. You know, soccer is huge. Soccer is a big deal. Everybody have an opinion about soccer in Denmark. Most places in Europe. So it is very different. Here we still have to accept that we are not one of the big four. But sorry, baseball fans, but I think in 5 to 10 years, soccer will be bigger than baseball.
Why don't you expand on that a little bit? Because I've actually was myself shocked to find how many kids you see playing football, soccer in this country. I was really surprised. I think you probably had the same experience when you first came over here.
Me too. And you see baseball fields everywhere. but now they play soccer on the baseball fields. They do. It's not very often I see kids playing baseball. You know, I like baseball. We as a family love to go to see baseball, but the future is soccer right now. It's a big deal, and the change I've seen here in the last 3 years, unbelievable, unbelievable.
I know we've got a few guys and girls out in the crowd tonight who come and watch you play every week, and some of them I think might be, you know, thinking one day maybe they might try and follow in Jimmy Nielsen's footsteps, go and be a professional soccer player. Do you have any advice for the younger fans out here who are out there playing on those baseball fields every week?
Yeah, you know, it also depends what age, you know, from a little kiddo and growing up, it's very, very important to have fun. That's the most important to me. You know, the older you get and the more competitive you get, you know, the better teams you can join. And, you know, in soccer it's always important with speed and the technical. If you have all that, you have some good tools. But the most important as a kid is to have fun. Fun with the soccer.
We nearly lost...
Which I don't see a lot of places here. That's why it pisses me off sometimes when I walk around and see the kids playing. And I don't blame the kids, I blame the coaches. Standing there and yelling at the small kids that got to be left foot and it's got to be right foot and it's got to be head, and they're yelling and screaming after the kids. You lose your motivation then. You know, if you get yelled at as a little kid, you don't want, but no, it's so important to have fun.
I'll say one thing that I think is different structurally here maybe to the experience that you had and even the experience that I had in England growing up, is that I think when you talk about playing soccer as a kid, a lot of the time it wasn't even with a coach. You just went out to the field and you played on your own, and that was something that you could do for hours on your own.
Yeah, I'd say, well, I don't feel that old, but it was still a different world when I was a teenager. You know, my parents and my friends' parents were not afraid of having us kids playing soccer in the dark and being a little away from home. It was pretty safe. You know, we played soccer until we could see the soccer ball anymore. And we had a blast, and then we walked home, went to school. After school, we skipped homework and we went directly to play soccer again. We did. It was just different. You know, unfortunately, we have too many computers and we have all those smartphones now, which are dragging the kids away from soccer in the park and on the street on their own.
I think I couldn't agree with you more about the...
And when I saw something in TV, I went for days in the park and tried to repeat what I saw in TV.
And what people don't realize is you weren't always a goalkeeper either.
Well, when I was 4 years old, I started playing soccer. And I got kicked in the face with a ball. And I quit. I didn't want to play soccer anymore. No, it's not my game. Then I started in school, and all my friends were playing for a small local team. And they asked if I wanted to join. I said, only if I can be the goalkeeper. Then I can protect my face with my hands. Well, at that point, I didn't know that the player on the field that got hit most in the face is the goalkeeper. So that was not the smartest, but today I'm happy I made that decision. And today I'm using the excuse I'm too lazy to run. That's why I became a goalkeeper.
I think we could have had a whole chapter in this book if we wanted to do it that way about times Jimmy Nielsen gets hit in the face.
We could.
And I think that one of the stories that I don't think we actually found a lot of room for in the end was the story of you very nearly could have ended up playing a completely different sport altogether.
Good. Ice hockey. Yeah, I was a goalie in ice hockey too. And but that ended very fast. I played one season that's a funny story. Not funny. The equipment for ice hockey for a goalkeeper is very, very expensive. And that day I quit, I finally got my equipment. My full equipment. And I'll make a long story short. Practice, and when the coach whistled, we're not allowed to touch the puck, which was fair enough. They gave us the opportunity to take the helmet off. Well, this time, the coach whistled, and I took my helmet off but the assistant coach hit the puck, and he got me right in the face. And my mom ran on the ice and took me off, and I was not allowed to play ice hockey anymore. Yeah.
So it's probably a good thing that your mum wasn't around when that bobblehead came in at Sporting Park then.
Could you see my mom run on the field here and take me out? I'm not allowed to play anymore. I could.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I haven't met her, but from some of the stories, I think she might have tried to stop you much sooner than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Why don't you tell people about that as your memory of it? I think sometimes when I've been asked about working with you on this book, people have said, was it hard to get stuff out of Jimmy? Was it hard to get into the tough stories we talked about as well? And I said it was the opposite with Jimmy. Actually, Jimmy was very honest, very open. Sometimes he'd tell you a story and you'd think, this can't possibly be true. And then you'd go and look it up on YouTube and it would be true. So I think the bobblehead story to hear from your side again would be a fascinating one.
Yeah, I could. We're playing Portland at home, and I'm standing in the opposite end of the cauldron. And we scored, and I was celebrating. And as I do always when I celebrate, I run back to the goal, get a drink. And when I got the drink, I thought I ran into the post. I was like, what are you doing? Then I'm looking up, and the post is a few yards away from me. And I see I got blood on my gloves, and I got a headache, like, boom. I was like, geez, I need to sit down a little bit. And I didn't know what happened until after the game, that I got hit by a bobblehead. Yeah, that was weird. And, you know, got stitches at halftime, and the last 10 minutes of the game, I could only see out of one eye. Yeah.
Occupational hazard. So that's the other thing to think about for all the kids who want to grow up and be Jimmy Nielsen.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to throw you. You told me you got a dart thrown at you in Denmark.
No, not in Denmark.
Oh, okay.
I was in your second country.
Oh.
England. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy spent some time at Millwall, which I don't know if people here are familiar with English soccer, but of all the fans in England, Millwall have a particular reputation, so it doesn't entirely surprise me if that's where it was, or was it?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, well then.
Well, to finish that story with Millwall, I have a story so I don't forget it. I was the backup goalkeeper for the U.S. national goalkeeper, Casey Keller. And I was sitting on the bench for him week after week after week after week. This specific Saturday morning, I got a phone call. Casey Keller's sick. You're playing the local derby against Crystal Palace tonight, this afternoon. Cool, I'm ready. Went to the training facilities. We went to have some beans on toast. Is that what you eat?
Oh, wow. Yeah, beans on toast.
Beans on toast, yeah.
And the 5 English people in the audience got that reference and nobody else.
Yeah. Had some beans and toast. We went to Selhurst Park, which is Crystal Palace, the opponent's home field. And to make, again, a long story, I'll make it short. After 85 minutes, I had been unbelievable in the game. 17 years old, and I was flying. And the supporters were singing my name, and they all loved me. But unfortunately, this game here lasted 93 minutes. Because in the 86 minutes, I made a huge mistake. They got a PK and they scored. And in overtime, I made another mistake. And right now we have some kids in here, so I'll not sing what the fans were singing about me. My own fans. But I felt quite bad right after the game, and I thought when I came in the locker room, my teammates will feel a little bad for me too. But I was wrong. They were pissed at me. Everybody were yelling at me and screaming at me, and the coach everybody were yelling at me. But I went to the shower, and I went for a hot tub, and I was lying there and feeling bad for myself and thinking through the game and what I could have done different. And it got pretty quiet in the locker room. Got out of the hot tub, got in there, and I got out of the locker room and asked the security guy, "Where's the Millwall bus?" They left 10 minutes ago. I was like, oh, can you call me a cab, please? I was pretty lucky we were not up in Manchester. It'll be a long cab ride.
Yeah. I mean, people can read the full stories in the book, but you went 2 trips to England and neither of them went well.
No, but to finish that story, this year is happening on a Saturday. We got the Sunday off, and I'm showing up for practice Monday morning. And the coach, "What the hell are you doing here?" "I'm here for practice." "No, you're not. I don't want to see your face around here anymore." I said, "Well, what do you mean you don't want to see my face around?" "I'm here for practice." "You're not practicing. Get a ticket home." I said, "What do you mean home?" "Get back to Denmark. I don't want to see you." I said, "Well, when do you want me to come back?" "When I call you." All right. Did what he said. I got a plane ticket, flew home the Monday night, and Wednesday night, I had a phone call from the team administrator. "The coach wants you back for practice tomorrow morning." I said, "This is not possible. I can't get a ticket. It doesn't work like today. You just go on the internet and get the ticket. You had to." I said, "I can't be there." "You better be there." And of course, I couldn't get there on time. I came a few hours late, and everybody were yelling at me again. And the following Saturday, we had to play home. And as usual, I had to go on the field to warm up Casey Keller so he was ready for the game. For the warm-up, when I walked on the field at home, like the new Den, our home field, the whole stadium were still booing at me. And that was after I had been there for 1 year at that point, and I still had 4 years left of my contract. So I understood the point when the coach called me in and said, "We better cancel this deal." So canceled the deal and went back home.
Do you think that the culture here around soccer is much more more forgiving than that?
The coaches or the culture? Yeah, but you know, as the soccer is growing here, you also get more passionate about the soccer. And right now I'm saying this year is the happiest atmosphere I've ever seen. But if you look 20 years ahead, I'm afraid you will see a little change in that. So I'm happy I'm not playing there.
You'll be coaching then?
I probably, oh, that would be even worse.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Is that what you'd like to do at the moment, when you finish?
Absolutely. That's one thing I know what I want to do, you know. I'm 35 years old now. I probably have another 3-4 years left in me. You know, I have not made enough money that I can sit back and retire. I gotta kickstart a new career, but it will still be something to do with soccer and hopefully coaching.
Because you've been doing that since you were this big.
This big, yeah. You know, soccer is my life. And hopefully it will be soccer to the end of my life.
The other thing that we haven't touched on yet, which I suppose is a big part of the book and is something that people I think weren't familiar with, is the gambling.
Yes.
I think for what was interesting.
What story do you want?
Well, there's a lot, but it's interesting that for you, I think for a lot of your career, or at least for several years after things came to a head with gambling, everyone knew you as Casino Jimmy, and then you came here and nobody even knew that at all. So I don't know. I mean, was there something you want to talk about that you think was important for people to know about? If there was one thing you think would be important to share about that.
Yeah, well, I never had a problem with people calling me Casino Jimmy. You know.
Well, why don't you explain, if you can quickly explain what happened with Casino Jimmy?
I will. Why
Jimmy?
I got the nickname Casino Jimmy. We played with the Danish U21 national team against Switzerland in a city called Odense in Denmark on a Friday night. We had to go to Italy Monday morning. So we drove back to Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, and had the night off. We do whatever we want, stayed home at the hotel and just chilled out. Sunday morning we had practice. The coach said everybody needs to be back at the hotel at 11 tonight. Went out for lunch. Me and another few teammates kind of motivated each other a little bit to go to the casino. We went to the casino in Copenhagen, and we actually left the casino at 7 o'clock for dinner. Unfortunately, we have won because we wanted more. And after a quick dinner, we went back to the casino, and pretty fast the clock passed 11 o'clock. And back at the hotel, a few hours too late, I got back to my room and went to the bed, pretty happy. I won a decent amount of money. Said this is going to be an awesome trip to Italy, and a few minutes later, it's knocked on my door. Keep knocking, and my roommate were asleep at that point. He didn't join me at the casino. He said, "Jimmy, it's knocking at the door." I said, "It's nothing. Just leave it to me." And it was keep knocking and knocking harder and harder and harder and harder. And I finally got out of the bed. I was messing around a little bit with my hair, so I looked like I just woke up. And I'm opening the door, and the coach is standing there. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Yeah, what are you doing? You just got back." I said, "No, I didn't. I've been here all night." "No, you haven't. Tell me what you've been doing." I said, "I've been in bed." I said, "I know, you're lying to me. Where have you been? I give you one chance." "All right, I've been at the casino." Thank you, you're honest with me." And then he opened the door full, and I saw my two friends I went to the casino with. They're like bending their head like, "Why didn't you stick to your story?" But you know, we didn't warn each other about anything. The guy in the lobby had made a deal with the coach when we entered the hotel. He should call up to his room, and you know, we were going back and forward for a few hours in the early mornings. Are we allowed to travel to Italy or not? And he finally decided to suspend us for the national team. And when we were talking about taking a cab, you know, I wasn't that worried about being suspended from the national team. I was afraid of my coach back in Aalborg, because he was a mean guy, a very aggressive and angry guy.
People here will know him because he's
They probably will know him, yeah. Hans Bakke, the former New York Red Bull coach. I was very afraid of him. And that's the only picture I had in my head, like seeing him screaming and yelling at me. At that point, I was wrong. I got his full support, but when they suspended us, we agreed on taking a taxi home to Aalborg, which is 4 hours driving in a taxi. That was a pretty long ride, but I had to be back so I could tell the coach the story before it came out. And I'm on the parking lot at the training facilities, and their assistant coach, "You're supposed to be in Italy right now. What are you doing? Are you injured?" I said, no, can we please go to the coach's office and I'll tell you. And the coach said, "Were there any alcohol involved?" And I could clearly answer, "No." I said, "Then you got my full support. I'll support you." But what the Danish Soccer Federation did, they made a press release that we had been at the casino and we were suspended. And from that day on, I got the nickname Casino Jimmy. I was the only one of the three of us who played in the country. The two other guys played in Germany and in England, so I got it. Yeah.
And you made the mistake of staying in Denmark all that time after.
No, I had a good time. Yeah.
How are we on time? Are we okay? Do you think that maybe there's any extent to which the fact that people were like that with you, they'd say, "Oh, it's not a problem, it's only alcohol. If you were drinking, it would have been a problem, but you were gambling, so it's not." Do you think that maybe meant that you didn't stop sooner? Do you think that maybe meant that you would keep going because no one's telling you it's wrong? Everyone's just saying, "Well, you weren't drinking."
Well, of course I knew it was wrong. I got suspended from a big game in Italy with the Danish national team. And personally, I think it would be a bigger punishment for me if they let me travel to Italy and put me on the bench. I can't stand sitting on the bench. It makes me sick. So I got suspended, you know, 1 game suspension, and then I was back in for the Danish 21 national team. But I do still believe it hurt me a little bit in the future for the Danish A national team. I was a part of that for a few years, but only on the bench.
And really, I mean, this was a long while before things came to a head with gambling. I mean, this was still actually, you know, you're quite young. Things went on for quite a long time after this, which were more serious.
Yeah, you know, I had gambling close to me for many, many years. Started with my granny, we were playing cards, and I didn't want to play any cards if she didn't put any dollar on the table. So we were playing cards, and you know, I had my little box at her home and with my money in. And my dad took me to horse race. Instead of buying snacks, I went and placed bets for the money. You know, but one time I made a mistake at the horse racing, if we have time for a short story. My dad had a horse, terrible one, and he told me, here is some money, go put the money on the horse. I said, yeah, right, that's a waste of money. So I went to buy a hot dog, and I bought a soda and snacks, and there was a few bucks left, and I went to place them on the horse. And what happened? It won. My dad got excited. Oh, you got? I said, yes, I do. But I bought a hot dog and a soda, and no, I had gambling around me for every day. You know, as a young kid in school, I was the bookmaker. You know, all the other students, they came and placed bet with me, and I took notes and collected the money and paid out the day after, you know. It was around me for many, many, many years.
And your dad worked as a bookmaker as well? Your dad had his own?
He owned a bookmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I worked there for many years, never had a paycheck.
I don't want to go into everything with how that came to a head, because I think people should read the book and see those stories, which are good stories. But I don't know, I mean, is there anything that you would want to say to people who were in a similar position to you? Because you know, as you do talk about in this book, it comes to a point where you're addicted and you have a real problem with it. Is there anything you'd want to say to people in that situation?
It's different to come with some directly advices to people who are addicted to gambling, or I think it's all individual stories behind it. And I'm sure that I could help a lot of gamblers who have problems with that. But I need to sit down with them and get to know their story behind it, and I'm sure I could give them some good tools to get out of it. You know, I went to rehab 3 times before I found the right guy that I could work with, and he gave me some good tools, and I could work with this. And
just to say, I guess, since you've come to America, there's none of that in your life at all, is there?
No. You know, this is when I read this book, I don't feel like I'm reading about me. I'm feeling I'm reading like another person, a different person. It's kind of weird. You know, the first time, it was just after all the gambling was happened. You know, of course I can recognize all the stories in here. But at that point, it felt very familiar. But this time, I feel like I'm reading about another person.
Did you find it hard to talk about those things? Because as I've said, it seemed to me like it came
not at all.
Easily.
I never had a problem with talking about it. Only the first time I had to tell my family. That was not pretty funny.
No. I think of a happier note to end it on, Jimmy. What do you see coming for yourself in the next few years? How long do you think you've got left? Do you intend to keep playing for several more years?
I'll keep playing until I stand with the MLS Cup in my hands. Yeah. Well, that's my huge motivation. You know, everything I do every day is because I have a goal in front of me. Not only me, the whole organization, all the fans, everybody have that big goal. I think we have the organization, we have the stadium, we have the fans, and we have the team to be one of the competitive teams to get the MLS Cup this year. If not this year, I'll do it next year. If not next year, I'll take the next year.
That sounds good. I think that's the right note to end it on. I think it's time for everyone else to get some questions for Jimmy, because I've had lots of time with him already. But thank you again, Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you.